The 1906 family photograph arrived at Maya Richardson's studio on a cold January morning in Brooklyn. It was wrapped carefully in acid-free tissue paper and placed inside a padded envelope. Maya owned a small business that specialized in restoring old and damaged photos. She had worked on hundreds of pictures over the years: Civil War images, faded Victorian portraits, and water-stained family albums. But this one felt different from the moment she opened the package. The return address showed it came from Grace Thompson in Charleston, South Carolina. The short letter with it read, "This photograph has been in my family for generations. It is the only picture we have of my great-great-grandmother's family, but it is badly damaged. I was told you are the best at this work. Please help me see their faces clearly again." Maya gently unwrapped the old photo and held it under her bright magnifying lamp. The image was in very poor condition. The surface had cracked and peeled in many places. Large water stains covered the bottom third, and someone had tried to repair it years ago in a rough way that only made the damage worse. Still, Maya could see the faint shapes of 7 people standing in front of a wooden house with a wide front porch. On the back of the thick cardboard, someone had written in faded pencil, "June 1906, Charleston." Below that were several names, though some were too smudged by water to read clearly. Maya took high-resolution photos of the original to create a safe digital copy. Then she sat down at her computer and began the long, careful process of restoration. She started by fixing the cracks and gaps, slowly copying clean areas to repair the damaged parts. She removed the dark water stains and cleaned up the old, clumsy repairs. This technical work took patience and steady hands. After 3 hours, the basic structure of the photo was clear once more. It showed a family of 7 dressed in their best clothes, standing proudly on the porch of their home. The father wore a dark suit with a high collar. The mother stood beside him in a simple white blouse and long skirt. 5 children stood with them: a tall teenage boy, 2 girls with braided hair and white ribbons, a young boy missing a front tooth, and the smallest child, a little girl of about 4 years old. Sitting quietly on the porch steps, Maya saved her work and stretched her tired shoulders. The next morning, with fresh eyes and a strong cup of coffee, she began the most delicate part, restoring the faces. She worked on the adults first. The father had a strong jaw and a serious expression. His hand rested gently on his wife's shoulder. The mother looked intelligent and determined, her back straight despite the hard life of raising 5 children in 1906 Charleston. Then Maya moved to the children, starting with the oldest. Finally, she reached the youngest girl. The water damage had been worst in this area, hiding most of her small face. Maya worked slowly, layer by layer, removing stains and bringing out the hidden details. As the little girl's features slowly appeared, Maya suddenly paused. She zoomed in closer on the eyes and forehead. Her breath caught in her throat. Even with the limits of old camera technology, something did not look right. The child's face showed signs of a rare genetic condition. Maya had restored thousands of photos and seen every kind of human feature, but this was different, something that doctors would not even name for another 45 years. She picked up her phone and called Dr. James Wright, a medical history professor at Columbia University who had helped her before with similar cases. "James, I need you to come look at something," she said. "I'm restoring a 1906 photo, and I think I'm seeing a genetic condition that wasn't identified until the 1950s. Dr. Wright arrived that afternoon. He studied the enlarged image carefully. His face moved from calm interest to clear surprise. "You're seeing it too?" Maya asked quietly. James nodded. "If this photo is authentic, this little girl shows clear signs of Waardenburg syndrome. Notice the wide distance between the inner corners of her eyes. There is a white streak in her dark hair, a white forelock, and look at her eyes. One is dark brown, the other is a pale blue or gray. That is called heterochromia. Together, these are classic signs of Waardenburg syndrome type 1. But Waardenburg syndrome wasn't discovered until 1951. Maya said. This photo is from 1906. James explained that the condition had always existed in people, but no one had given it a medical name before 1951. In the segregated South of 1906, a black child with different colored eyes, a white streak in her hair, and wide set eyes would have stood out strongly. Some people might have seen her as special or blessed. Others might have been afraid or suspicious. Life could have been very difficult and even dangerous for her. Maya finished the restoration with extra care and attention. She made the little girl's striking features clear, but kept them natural. When the work was done, the child's face looked back with a small, serious expression, a 4-year-old who already seemed to know she was different. Maya printed copies of the restored photo and wrote a careful email to Grace Thompson, explaining what she had discovered about the youngest child. 3 days later, her phone rang. It was Grace. Her voice was warm but shaking with emotion. "Miss Richardson, I received your email. I have been staring at the restored picture for 2 days. The little girl with the different colored eyes, that is my great-great-grandmother. Her name was Sarah." Maya's heart beat faster. She grew up. "Yes," Grace said. "That's why I'm calling. After reading your email, I looked through all our old family papers. I found letters, Bible records, and newspaper clippings. I've been trying to understand Sarah's life for years, but there were so many missing pieces. Now I think I'm beginning to understand why my grandmother was always quiet about her." Grace asked if Maya would be willing to come to Charleston to help her learn more about Sarah and a woman named Clara who had protected her. Maya agreed. 2 weeks later, she flew to Charleston. Grace met her at the airport. She was a kind woman in her early 50s, with warm eyes and the same high cheekbones as Sarah in the old photo. They hugged like old friends and drove into the city together as golden afternoon light fell over the historic streets and live oak trees. Grace's modest home in North Charleston had been turned into a research center. The dining table was covered with neatly organized stacks of old letters, documents, and a special leather-bound journal written by Clara Bennett between 1902 and 1928. Clara had been a respected healer and midwife in Charleston's black community. Her journal was filled with careful notes about births, illnesses, treatments, and the daily life of the people she served. From the very first entry about Sarah in June 1906, Clara had noticed the baby's unusual appearance. She wrote that the birth was normal, but the child had one dark eye and one pale blue eye, plus a white streak in her hair. The mother, Ruth, was frightened and worried the baby might be cursed. Clara reassured her that Sarah was healthy and strong, just different. Over the years, Clara's journal showed how she became Sarah's protector. She watched over the little girl, taught her, and shielded her from cruel talk and superstition in the community. When Sarah grew older, Clara used her connections to help her get into nursing school in 1920. One of the few places that trained black nurses at that time. Sarah graduated with honors in 1925 and began working as a nurse in the poor neighborhoods of Charleston. She visited homes, delivered babies, treated sick children, and taught mothers how to care for their families. People started calling her the nurse with angel eyes because of her striking different colored eyes. At first, some were nervous, but her kindness and skill quickly won their trust. Sarah worked hard for many years. Even though her health suffered from pushing herself too much, she lost her husband young and raised her own children while continuing to serve the community. She died in 1952 at the age of 46. During Maya's visit, they visited the old cemetery where Sarah was buried. An elderly woman named Dorothy approached them at the grave. She was 74 years old and told them, "Sarah delivered me in 1949, when I was born 2 months early. The doctors said I wouldn't live, but Sarah came to our house every day for weeks. She taught my mother how to care for me. She saved my life." Other older people in the community shared similar stories. They remembered Sarah's patience, her gentle voice, and how she never let her different appearance stop her from helping others. Months later, back in Brooklyn, Maya worked with Grace to create a special exhibition at the Charleston Museum titled hidden faces revealed lives. The beautifully restored 1906 family photograph was placed in the center. Next to it were pages from Clara's journal, Sarah's old nursing pin, letters she had written, and video interviews with people whose lives she had touched. The exhibition brought together many branches of Sarah's extended family. Dr. James Wright added a clear explanation of Waardenburg syndrome and how it had existed long before science gave it a name. Visitors learned how one little girl, born different in a difficult time, grew up to become a strong, caring nurse who saved lives and inspired her community. At the opening night, Grace stood in front of the crowd and said, "When I sent that damaged photo to Maya, I only wanted to see my ancestors' faces. I never expected to discover such a powerful story." Sarah faced many challenges because she looked different, but she turned that difference into strength. She was protected by Clara and supported by her community. This exhibition honors her and all the quiet heroes whose stories were almost forgotten. As the evening ended, Maya stood once more in front of the restored photograph of 4-year-old Sarah sitting on the porch steps. The little girl with the striking eyes looked back at her across more than a century. Maya thought about how one damaged picture had opened a window into a hidden history of courage, love, and quiet determination. Sarah's story reminded everyone that every face in every old photograph holds a life worth seeing, understanding, and remembering.